In today's chronically stressed out world, adrenal fatigue is becoming more and more common. What is adrenal fatigue? I'm going to dispel the myths and blow your mind in this video. My name is Tiffany Toombs. I'm a holistic high performance coach that has worked with thousands of people across the world to master their minds and get their body and their minds working properly for them again. In this video, I'm going to share with you what adrenal fatigue really is and dispel some myths about what it's not. I'm going to share with you the warning signs so you know when you're on the verge of adrenal fatigue. And most importantly, I'm going to share with you what you need to look at changing and doing when you get there. Adrenal fatigue is actually the symptom of a much larger problem. Now, most holistic practitioners and most people, when they get adrenal fatigue, they address the symptom. They look to place that Band-Aid over the issue, heal the adrenals, but because they don't look at the larger problem, what ends up happening is they are right back in adrenal fatigue in a matter of months or years. Now, to truly understand adrenal fatigue, I'm going to share with you a little bit of biology about the body first. So our adrenal glands are tiny glands that sit on top of our kidneys. Their main function is to produce stress hormones in times of stress, primarily the hormones of adrenaline and cortisol. Now, during times of stress, we need to be able to access and make more energy in the body so that we can actually run away from the bear that's chasing us or from the thing that is happening. The function of cortisol and adrenaline is to do this. It's to help mobilize the stored glucose or glycogen in our bloodstream, in our fat cells, in our liver, and in our muscles so that we can turn that into usable energy in the body and run away and save our life. Now, when I say that adrenal fatigue is actually a symptom of a much larger problem, what I mean is that adrenal fatigue happens when our thyroid has been suppressed. So what is the thyroid? The thyroid is a gland that sits here in your throat and it produces thyroid hormone, which monitors and controls your metabolism. When your metabolism is working efficiently, your body is effectively taking the food that you eat, turning it into nutrients that can be turned into fuel for the body. When your thyroid hormone has been suppressed, on the other hand, the body is not effectively using the food that comes in, and then we need to rely on the adrenal glands to come and assist the thyroid in its functioning. So I want you to think of the thyroid as the main power source for your house and the adrenal glands as the generator. So most of the time you're going to have power flowing through your house from the main power source, and if there happens to be a thunderstorm or the lights go out for a moment, the generator kicks in and it supports the main power source. But you would never consider running your entire house off of your generator 100% of the time, especially when it's an emergency generator. And this is what most of us do in our everyday lives. We think that because we are not effectively dealing with our thyroid, we're not effectively dealing with the main power source of our bodies, that it's okay just to run our entire lives off of this emergency generator. But eventually the emergency generator is going to run out of gas. And this is what happens when adrenal fatigue happens. Our adrenals, they're no longer able to produce the cortisol and adrenaline that our body is requiring, and the system starts to falter. We start to feel incredibly exhausted. As somebody who has dealt with adrenal fatigue many times in my life, because I kept just putting Band-Aids over the problem, I actually at one point thought I had chronic fatigue, and this is just the way life was. That you walk around and you're just exhausted all the time, and you need a nap by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's a struggle to really be productive and get anything done. Now that I've discovered that my thyroid was actually suppressed and my metabolism was very slow, my body was a very inefficient machine, and having made changes, I have a lot more energy. What else happens when we experience adrenal fatigue? Cortisol encourages the deposition of fat onto our belly area. We'll also notice that we age faster because our body is not working effectively to keep us looking and feeling young. We're going to have an increased buildup of lactic acid, which means our muscles are going to get very tired and very sore. Think about if you were to go and do hill sprints, how midway up the hill, your legs are going to be burning. That's because of lactic acid buildup. When we are relying on our adrenals to produce all of our energy, what happens is that we get that lactic acid building up everywhere, and it impairs our muscles from working effectively. In fact, there is a thing known as the quitting switch, and when our body becomes too stressed out, when we have too much lactic acid, the quitting switch gets turned on and we lose the ability to move our bodies at all. This is where we find ourselves sick, in bed, unable to get up and do the things that we want or need to do because our body just will not function. And in rare cases, it can even lead to death. So before I share with you the warning signs of adrenal fatigue, I want to remind you to subscribe to my channel. I am putting out brand new content every single week that is going to help you let go of limiting beliefs, let go of mental blocks, let go of the stress addiction which leads to adrenal fatigue so that you can truly fulfill your purpose and your potential in this life. So now that we know what adrenal fatigue is, what are the warning signs that we are on the verge of experiencing it so that we can make changes before we end up flat on our back in bed or even worse, in a hospital? So I want to share with you some warning signs from your life and also from your body so that you can be on the lookout for all of these things. Now, when you have been chronically stressed out, you find that you are always on the go, you're not sleeping well, you have 1,000,001 things to do, then your body is stressed. Now, the interesting thing about the body is it doesn't actually know the difference between good stress, i.e. working out and going for a walk, compared to bad stress, like financial stress or electromagnetic frequencies or pollution. So there are so many things that can stress our body out. The list would literally take me hours to share with you. So I want to give you a couple things to look at in your life. If you had adverse experiences in your childhood, maybe you moved around a lot, maybe you had a parent who had a mental health condition or a disability, maybe you were one of many children, maybe you were bullied, maybe you had parents who had perfectionist tendencies or who were people pleasers or who had very high standards for you. Maybe you had parents who were overly critical, or on the extreme end, maybe you had parents or family members who were abusive in any form. Holding on to this trauma is stressful to the body, and it's actually quite toxic to the body. So if you have had any of those experiences that you've not fully dealt with, your body is under a lot of stress. If you find that you are always on the go and you have 1,000,001 things to do, or you find that you're in a high stress or fast-paced job, then your body is under a lot of stress. If you eat a lot of processed foods or a lot of junk food, if you find that you're eating out a lot, your body is under a lot of stress. If you find yourself constantly surrounded by technology, phones, laptops, computers, Wi-Fi routers, your body is under stress because each and every one of those devices puts out an electromagnetic frequency that speeds our body up. If you live in an urban environment where there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of pollution, there's a lot of people, your body is under a lot of stress. So those are just some lifestyle stress factors to look at. What about the body warning signs? If you find that you are always cold, your hands are cold, your nose is cold, your toes are cold, that is a sign that your metabolism is slowing down. The faster our metabolism is, the hotter our body runs, because a byproduct of producing energy from the food that we eat is heat. And so we need to let that off somehow. If you find that you are putting weight on and you're not able to get rid of it as easily as you used to, this is also a sign that your metabolism is slowing down. Now, if you're like, but Tiffany, I'm getting older and I've just heard that this is a thing, it actually doesn't have to be a thing. As a society, we've just accepted that our metabolism slows down with age. But if we look after our body and our health and our metabolism, that doesn't have to be the case. Otherwise, every single 70, 80, and 90-year-old out there would be overweight. If you find that your resting heart rate is below 75 beats per minute, your metabolism is slowing down. Now, I used to buy into the belief that the more fit you were, the slower your heart rate was because it didn't have to work as hard. Most athletes will have a very low heart rate and their bodies are highly stressed. When your metabolism is higher, you actually have a higher resting heart rate. Other signs from the body that your metabolism is slowing down and now your adrenals are having to pick up the slack are things like impaired sleeping. You're not getting a good quality night's rest anymore. You have a decrease in your sex drive. When our metabolism drops, our sex drive does as well. You find yourself getting sick more because the more stressed out the body is, the more impaired our immune system is. A change in your bowel movements, so this could mean that you're pooping less, or it could mean that your poop is more runny or more sludgy. Our poop is a great way to tell us about our health, but I'll discuss that in another video. Now, before I share with you what you can do to reverse these warning signs before you hit adrenal fatigue, or if you're in adrenal fatigue, what to do to get out of it, I want to hear from you. Have you experienced any of these warning signs lately? If so, which ones? Go to the comments below and let me know. So you have full-blown adrenal fatigue, or you have some of the warning signs that I just talked about. What can we do to reverse this impact so this doesn't become a chronic and debilitating issue for you? So because adrenal fatigue is just a symptom of a larger problem, in order to truly fix this so that we're not just band-aiding the issue and adrenal fatigue is coming back in a couple months or a couple years, what we're going to do is we need to fix the thyroid. This doesn't mean that you need to go on thyroid medication. What it means is we need to decrease the amount of inflammation, which is swelling in the body, and we need to decrease the stress in the body so that we can start to heal from the inside out. This means that we might need to dial back hard exercise, such as high intensity interval training, running, heavy weightlifting. Those are all things that we might need to dial back in the short term, and we might need to engage in practices like Tai Chi, Qigong, or yoga instead in order to still lengthen and strengthen the body, but in a way that is less stressful for the body overall. We will also need to increase the amount of rest that we have. Now, this can be actual sleep, so we may need to change around our lives to make sure that we are going to bed, giving ourselves 8 hours to sleep. It means we might have to implement a nighttime routine so that we get a good night's sleep, and we might need to change around the structure of our room. Take out our TV, take out our phone, black out the room so that it is completely dark and we are able to get the best night's sleep possible. It also means that we might need to decrease our workload. So we might have to start saying no to some things in order to let go of some of the things on our to-do list, let go of some of our stress so that the body can heal. We also want to look at our diet. There is a lot of foods that have been touted as being super healthy in the food industry that actually lead to more inflammation and more stress in the body. Things like nuts and seeds are actually inflammatory for the body because they are polyunsaturated fats. And these polyunsaturated fats are very unstable and they oxidize at high temperatures. Our body temperature is a high temperature that will cause those unstable fats to oxidize and create other issues such as inflammation within the body. Now, also with seeds and nuts is they tend to have built-in toxins and protective mechanisms to stop them from being eaten by animals. Our body is unable to break down these toxins. So for example, most nuts contain a toxin called phytic acid, and our body cannot break down phytic acid. Phytic acid also preferentially binds to minerals like calcium and iron, which means when we eat those foods, our body doesn't break down the phytic acid. It instead binds to the calcium and iron that we're eating in our diet and strips it out of the body. And so when we excrete that waste, we're taking those precious minerals with it. So you might think that you're eating an incredibly mineral-rich, nutrient-rich foods, but in reality, the foods are not mixing well in your gut and they're taking those minerals with them. In addition, anytime we eat foods that inflame our gut, it kills off the good bacteria that we need there to maintain not just a healthy gut, but a healthy mindset. There has been numerous studies that show a very intimate connection between our gut and our mental health. So when we kill off that gut bacteria, we are setting ourselves up for feeling things like depression, anxiety, panic, and even all the way up to schizophrenia. The last thing that I want to share with you is that we have to start healing that emotional baggage. We have to start reprogramming the limiting beliefs that we have. We have to start releasing fear, anger, self-doubt, judgment, resentment, any of those emotions that we've been holding on to, because those cause a lot of stress to the body. As we start to decrease our stress by looking at our exercise, by looking at our lifestyle, by looking at the foods that we're eating, and by healing any trauma and emotional baggage that we have, we are able to significantly heal our metabolism. And what you'll see is that you'll be warmer all the time. You will start losing that stubborn fat that you couldn't get rid of before. You'll find that you sleep better, that you get sick less, and that you have more energy overall, and you're not falling back into this debilitating mess that is adrenal fatigue. Now, if you're somebody who wants to figure out exactly where you lie on the adrenal fatigue spectrum so that you know what changes you need to make, I would love for you to take this brand new test that I have just put together. You're going to answer some simple questions, and we'll tell you how close you are to experiencing adrenal fatigue, as well as some simple changes that you can start making today in order to let go of that stress and move yourself back into a more healthy position. All you have to do to take that test is go to www.stressresettoday.com and you'll get free access right away. Thanks so much for watching.